Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Simply Cyber Live, where we dive deep into the world of cybersecurity, bringing you insights, trends, and conversations with some of the experts leading the field. And today, we're incredibly honored to have a very special guest with us, a friend of the Simply Cyber community and a returning member whose name you're probably well aware of. It's oftentimes associated with critical and transformative concepts in cybersecurity today, specifically zero trust architecture. Folks, Dr. Chase Cunningham, widely known as Dr. Zero Trust, has a career that spans over 2 decades. Dr. Cunningham has been at the forefront of cybersecurity, pushing the boundaries of how we think about and implement security measures, specifically in an kind of a dynamic, fluid landscape, going from the traditional on-prem, M&M with a hard candy shell and a soft GUI center, into more of protecting at the identity, whether it's in the cloud or on-prem. He's a retired Navy chief. Dr. Cunningham's journey into cybersecurity has taken him from the depths of government service all the way, including the NSA, to being a pivotal figure in shaping the future of cybersecurity in the private sector. His expertise and forward thinking have made him a sought-after advisor, speaker, and author, which we're going to be getting deep into today. And his contributions have been significant in our understanding of cyber warfare, digital security, and, of course, zero trust frameworks. His work hasn't only just helped, illuminate the path for many of us in the cybersecurity community, but it's also been really instrumental in driving the fundamental shift in how organizations approach securing their assets. And by advocating for a model that trusts nothing and verifies everything, aka that's what zero trust is when you pull the curtain back, he has helped redefine the security posture of countless businesses, organizations, governments, making essentially like the internet a bit of a safer place. So I'm super pumped about that. Today, we're super pumped to have Dr. Cunningham here to share his insights, his experiences, and have a nice, really cool fireside chat. It's going to be a lot of fun. As always, Simply Cyber community members, Haircut Fish, Jess Bishop, Chris Cahall, Whitlock, Space Tacos, Rhonda, I see you all. It's going to be good. If you have questions, drop them in chat. You know the deal. This is a very engaging, interactive experience, and I am super pumped. So get your clapping hands emote or maybe your Oprah emotes if you're a squad member up and running as we welcome Dr. Chase Cunningham, the man who taught us that when it comes to security, trust is not a given. It is absolutely earned. Let's go get Dr. Cunningham. Hey, what's up? How you doing, Chase?
Hey, how's it going? You got people talking about capoeira on here. I'm kind of worried about where we've gone.
Oh, absolutely. So are you in, like, did someone do OSINT on you? Are you
No, I do Krav. Like, I'm big into Krav, but I would love to. My big ass can't do capoeira. I'd fall over.
I mean, have you ever seen, there's like a capoeira animated GIF meme thing going on out there where the guy's doing all the things and it's like, whatever, next gen, single pane of glass. And then
nice.
And then like the threat actor just like punches the guy in the face, like one hit knocks him out cold.
Yep, that's pretty apropos. Yep.
I love that. So, well, before we get into it, Krav Maga, I took Krav myself for a little while and then moved away from it. And I want to get back into it. Are you like a practicing Krav Maga?
Yeah. I think it's one of the best ones out there. Like, just because, the military does kind of a version of it, and it's one of those ones that I took Shotokan and then jujitsu and whatever else, and it's like Krav is like real stuff that you could actually use. You're not gonna ask the bad guy to be like, hey, grab my other wrist and do this.
Yeah, no, let's reset. I'm going to get on the ground. You get on top.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Turn around and grab my throat with your left hand.
Yeah, I do love Krav Maga. Ultra violent, ultra impactful, but also ultra practical, right?
I put my kids in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually about to enter my son, my youngest, into martial arts, and I'm trying to convince him to Krav Maga. I'm like, I'll do it with you, like, no pressure. But I think he's leaning towards something with a belt system, which unfortunately Krav doesn't care about belts.
Yeah, it's like, well, belts hold your pants up, right? I mean,
Exactly. So anyways, pivoting back into more of the cybersecurity realm, obviously that intro kind of outlined all sorts of stuff. Are you still, I know you're doing the Dr. Zero Trust podcast. Are you still heavily influenced in zero trust architecture, or has the name kind of just been stable, associated with you and you've gone on to explore other areas?
No, I'm still like elbow deep in ZT. I'm doing a bunch of work with the federal government. I'm doing some work with the Australian government now because they've moved to a whole of the government approach on zero trust. The UK and EU is starting to get in there, so it continues its move forward. And I'm glad because it is a strategy. Like somebody in the chat was saying, define ZT in a measurable way. There's books written on it. Like I could sit here and market it to death for folks, but it's a legit thing. Like strategy is strategy.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm a huge advocate of zero trust architecture. I think, okay, so Dr. Jim Kouros, I just read this recently because I am a University of Massachusetts Amherst graduate, and he was faculty there forever. He's also like the de facto author and authority on like networking. So it's kind of cool. But in the alumni magazine I just got recently, he's being recognized by NSF for like, career things. But he was talking about the 3 ages of computing. And I think it's very, very germane to this conversation. He said 1965 to 2000 was the age of artifacts. And this was making faster, cheaper systems, databases, computers, etc. 2000 to 2020 was the age of systems. And that was like internet, social media, scaling, and those type of things in cloud. And then 2020 to present, where we currently are, is transitioning to age of people. And he said that most of the new challenges that we're facing are user-focused, privacy, quality, transparency, these type of things. And I think that really resonates with what I think zero trust architecture is, because I feel like we've gone from securing the asset to really securing the identity, which gets access to that. What are your thoughts around that as kind of a understanding for those who don't know zero trust?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really key piece of it. The reality of it is like when we think about ZT and when I do workshops with people, I tell them like, think from the perspective, I don't care about the defensive side, which sounds crazy, but think about from the perspective of the bad guy, right? And all I want to do is remove their ability to be successful. And I accept that there's going to be a breach. And all I'm trying to do is make it where they can't stay and be comfortable inside of my place. So it can be strategically can be applied to a whole bunch of things. But to your point, identity, and it's not necessarily human identity, could be machines, could be apps, whatever, has a very key place in the engine that drives cybersecurity. So that's where you should apply controls.
Yeah, I mean, like I love it when you say things very cleanly and very simply. It's like, oh yeah, obviously, like let's not get wrapped around the axle with buzzwords and clever terminology. Just straight and simple, right?
This is not rocket surgery. I mean, it's you got decades of proof of what the bad guys do. Guess what you should do? The thing that would remove their ability to be successful. Duh.
Yeah, I think that's a good advice. Chris Cahill's got a question coming in hot, right, related here. Where did the concept come from?
So John Kindervag, who was an analyst at Forrester, coined the term and the basics of the strategy around zero trust back in 2009, 2010. And then we formalized it as a framework in 2017. And after that, it really kind of took off because it was one of those things where the market was looking for a sort of pragmatic approach to a concept. And once you framework stuff, all of a sudden people go, okay, cool, I can get that.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, so, and I don't have it pulled up right now, but recently, and I know, so you may or may not be able to speak to this, and anything you can't speak to, Chase, like totally cool, we get it. A couple, I want to say maybe 12 months ago, executive memo came out, everybody, MFA, like, okay, like, that's hard, but we could do that pretty quickly in 90 days. And then another part of that memo was like, everything zero trust architecture, 90 days. And I'm like, that seems a bit aggressive. Do you know the memo I'm talking about?
Oh yeah. Because I was on the committee that helped draft a bunch of that up and move it there. And when they published it, I was like, wait a minute, you guys kind of ran off with this and went a little whole hog. We were much more formulaic before this became, hey, do this in 90 days, especially you got 90 days to figure out ZT for the government. I mean, nah, that ain't happening.
Yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, I'm glad that you were involved in the creation of that memo or the principles behind it. But yeah, like, I'm glad that you say that, because when I read that, I was like, dude, like, like at minimum, even if like everybody was on board, budgets have been set. Like you can't, there's no like kiddie fund for the federal government. There's no, like, I know that there's like, clandestine operations and black budgets, but like, not for zero trust architecture.
No, and I mean it's one of those things of they, like you said, they already had money allocated. So, but the one thing too is, if you're not aware, there is a zero trust program office now that's been formally established,
Uh-huh.
and there's a guy running it. His name's Randy Resnick. He's a really smart dude. They're actually allocating, I think, totaled up, it's over $2 billion to ZT over time.
Holy crap. So do you, I mean, I know this would probably be a better question for him, but do you know, I mean, is the idea that like all federal agencies can go to that office for guidance, or is that office trying to over manage the program of ZT for federal?
So more the second, it's basically where that organization is saying like, here's the mandates, here's the requirements. We got the pot of money. We can align this to enable it. And you tell us how you're going to do it. And we'll start crafting up money for contract vehicles to do that thing.
Okay, well, that's awesome. So yeah, if you're working in federal gov and you're like scratching your head on how to get zero trust, there you go. There's a program office.
There's a program office. It's at the Pentagon. They have a seal and everything.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So let's pivot for a second, Chase, because I want to make sure we talk about this. You recently wrote a book. Now, Chase has written multiple books now. So this is kind of old hat for him, but he recently wrote a book that I want to share with everybody here. It's called How Not to Lead, which I think is a hilarious title. How Not to Lead, lessons every manager can learn from dumpster chickens, mushroom farmers, and other office offenders. Now, Chase, first question, what is this book about?
Yeah, so I spend a lot of my time kind of like you, like reading, and I listen to a lot of books on Audible, and I'm big into like self-help and business and whatever, and entrepreneurship, and I listen to all these books about how to be like an amazing leader and how to never screw up, and 10x is easier than 2x and whatever. I couldn't find books where it was like, here's how not to be a jackass and screw up your company. And oh, by the way, this is how not to treat people like crap. And I was like, I'll write it because I've been involved in all that many times over, unfortunately. So it's like a combination of war stories and sitting in rooms that I've been in the past and whatever. And it's just it's real talk on what you shouldn't do as a leader. And I think it's interesting in the concept of technology too, because I wrote a chapter about it. We have a lot of people that wind up being like leaders that honestly shouldn't have ever been leaders, but because they created the tech, they become mushrooms, or excuse me, they become like CEOs. And you're sitting there going like, dude, I wouldn't follow you into a wet paper sack. Like, why are you the CEO?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I could hear that. So is the book written mostly like, not case studies, but like,
it's
like
case studies of my life is what it is.
Okay. I love it. So people who are in management, people who are leaders, people who are mentors, they're kind of the target audience in order to avoid doing bad.
Yeah, and I mean it's one of those ones of I actually had somebody reach out to me yesterday and they've read it and they were like, dude, I'm going to buy this and give it to my leadership because the company is basically doing everything that you would say they shouldn't do. And I'm going, that's exactly what I was hoping for.
All right, I'm going to drop a link to the book in chat so you guys can pull it down and take a look at it yourself. But no, super good. I do love the cover of this book. We were talking about it offline. For me, guys, a book like the cover is very important, right? Like I believe it or not, like you will make a decision based on the book cover. Mm-hmm. And I love this tape and how it's slapped over, kind of indicating like it's like, kind of a hot mess express, especially the not part. What was the inspiration for this particular book cover, Chase?
Yeah, so number one, the seagull up there in the Navy, we call those dumpster chickens because that's pretty much what they were, right? They were always hovering around the dumpsters, and you never knew you might need to eat one eventually someday. I would advise against it, but you never knew. And then the sort of knot part, well, and it's got a chief's hat on because I'm a retired chief, but the knot part was basically that's what you see at a lot of companies is they slap it on, and it's just kind of duct tape holding everything together.
Oh, well, there you go. It's very, as you said earlier, apropos. It's like very, very, very well put and very indicative of what we're getting from this. So as far as writing a book goes, I mean, I've written a book. You've written multiple books. People in chat may have, like, I guess let us know in chat. Do you have a professional goal of writing a book? I know it's not for everybody. You also have a Ph.D. I do too. And that was a professional goal that I didn't do to unlock any type of like promotion or something like that. But getting to a book, Chase, what was your experience or what are your thoughts and experiences about writing a book?
Yeah, so I mean the thing that people get because I've talked with a lot of folks like, oh, you've written a bunch of books or whatever. It's if you really think about it, right? If you wrote 1 page a day and you did that for 6 months, guess what? You got 180 pages. So
Mhm.
like the ability to write a book, honestly, folks, if you just took some time and put stuff on paper, it's much more doable. And the only difference you have with a publisher is the publisher is basically hiding behind you with a whip, making sure that you're delivering pages when you're supposed to deliver pages. But now with Amazon and self-publishing or whatever else, if you want to contribute to the the zeitgeist, I guess is the word, write a book and just take your time and publish it over the course of a year or something. Just it's not something that you have to kind of be beholden to a particular timeline or whatever. And oh, by the way, just so you know, you're not going to make money writing and publishing books. I've done 7 or 8 of them, and it's because you enjoy writing books. It's not because you're looking to be the next Stephen King.
Yeah, I can 100% echo that. I just put it in perspective. Like my kitchen table doesn't wobble because I take my royalty check and I put it under there to keep it from wobbling.
Yeah.
That's about the value of my royalty checks on my book. But yeah, no, it's great experience. And I would say, personally, if you are motivated and inspired to write a book and share your stories, to Chase's point, just start. But I would almost say, you've got to break it down into reasonable. It'll seem almost insurmountable to write a whole book. So maybe make an outline and then write the first part of chapter 1, right? And,
Yeah.
and write like mini books, right? And
Yeah,
then
and there's some software nowadays that you can go, and I think there's one. I can't remember the name, but I'll find it and send it to you. But basically, like I think it was like $15 a month, and it'll kind of collate all of your. You can just basically like word barf stuff in there, and it'll kind of put it into a book format for you over time. So it's a really good way to do it and kind of do that on your own.
oh, that's cool. Do you happen to remember the name of that? That does
I
sound
have it in
interesting.
my notes, and I'll get it and find it for you. And for the folks here, you can share it whenever. But if you just literally Google AI for authorship, like there's tons of stuff out there now.
Okay, all right. AI for authorship. I'll actually pull that in um,
Yeah.
a little bit. So as far as how not to lead, though, Chase, is there one particular lesson that resonates with you that would be worth sharing with an audience like this?
Yeah, I mean the one, and this is something I learned going through Chiefs initiation, and it's I think it's probably the most valuable piece of advice I've ever gotten. To be perfectly frank, is you deserve what you tolerate, and you get what you expect. And like if people would really think about that, how that applies in life and business and work and whatever else, you will realize real quickly, like, oh, wow, that's actually a very applicable concept. And I should consider that. So let me say that again is
Yeah, please do.
you deserve what you tolerate and you get what you expect.
You deserve what you tolerate.
And you get what you expect.
All right. All right. Hold on. You deserve. I'm going to put this on screen. This is very powerful words. You deserve what you tolerate. So basically, if you don't want, don't take.
Yeah,
Basically.
think about it, right? If you've ever been in a space where you've seen somebody, be it at work or home or school or whatever, and you let somebody disrespect you, guess what they're going to do again? They're going to disrespect you. And I mean, or if it's someone's going to dump a bunch of work on you, you just take it. Like if you let them do those things, you deserve it because you're allowing it to occur. Does that mean that you have to like take a sledgehammer to their face? No, but you have every right to stand up and be like, look, we should talk about this. This is not the right way to do this thing, et cetera, et cetera. Like it's a whole, there's a way to approach it is the thing. And then that you get what you expect. Don't delude yourself thinking that people are not going to be people and that they won't take the easy route. And if you happen to be the easy route, they'll run over you every day, twice on Sunday. And
Mhm.
that's what's going to happen. So, you should know that and understand it. And it just, I think about it, everything I do. I mean, literally in my marriage with my wife, like we tell each other, we'll remind each other, like, I don't deserve that and I'm not going to tolerate it. And it actually is helpful.
Yeah, open communication. That I feel like, in a marriage, in a relationship, business, personal, whatever, don't try to be cruel. You know what I mean? Don't try to be mean for the sake of being hurtful, but open communication, honest communication, definitely does go a long way. And at a minimum, even if you say, hey, like, I don't think you should be giving me all this extra work. And they're like, well, I'm going to give you extra work. Well, then at least you've had the open conversation and you're like, okay, well, now I need to either address this or find other work or whatever, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not passive aggressive, right? I feel like passive aggressive is kind of a lazy way to address an issue.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I'm probably bad about being aggressive, but I mean, it's one of those things of like, yeah, it'll be a cold day in hell before somebody's going to steamroll over me, and I'm not going to disrespect anybody else. You know what I mean? Like if you're disrespecting me, I'm just going to tell you, and then we'll figure it out. But it's a it's a life changer, I think.
Now, do you think do you think that perspective that you have personally, Chase, do you think that was born into you from being in the military and just, like I wasn't in the military, but I've heard stories of certainly how military things happen, or is that more just who you are at your core?
I think some of it's a core thing, right? Like I just at a personal level, like I've never been somebody that's going to let anybody roll over me or disrespect me or whatever. But I would also say, like in the military, I definitely saw it a whole lot where you would see people because of rank or because of, their presence in a command that would treat other people like crap, and they would just take it. And all it did was just throw gas on a fire. So, and in the military, if your colonel treats you like crap and you're a first class or something or a sergeant, you can't just go back and kick their ass and scream at them. You have to be professional about it and sort of run your way through it. And that's a skill that in the corporate world is something that I found is lacking. Like, because they don't deal with that, usually people will just go belly up. And then, like you were saying, they'll be at a job they hate with people they don't like, and that your life is ticking away. The hourglass is getting thinner every day. Like, don't let somebody disrespect you, and don't work places you hate because you were unwilling to stand up for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like every 80s like rom-com movie like has that element to it, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No, I love that. And, honestly, one thing that I always preach is you really should think about, again, keeping this directly to work now. One thing that I always preach, Chase, is like, you have to think of yourself as the CEO of you, right? Like, I don't have a business degree or anything like that, so I'm not like all doing all the CEO things. But if you think about, like, you go get a job, okay, you get $80,000 a year. Like, yeah, you work there, but it's not your family. Like, think of yourself as like you're CEO of your business and you're contracting yourself out for 2,000 hours a year, excuse me, to go work here. And if you can think about it that way, then if someone's disrespecting you or stuff, it's like, all right, I need to either be thinking about other opportunities. I got to think about ways that I can shift this, not just be like, well, this is my job and I got bills to pay and I guess I'm just going to deal with that. Because I feel like that'll eat away at you and kind of erode your own identity because you're not at peace with that. So having not necessarily passive income streams coming from all over the place, and don't think writing a book is one of those, because it's not.
It's not. It's not a passive income stream at all.
No, but having a network and being able to like access that network and know about opportunities or express to someone like off camera, Chase, I'm like, oh, Chase, man, like I'm really not liking my job. Now Chase knows that. Chase works in the DC area. Maybe Chase knows of some opportunities or something and is, listening in on that. But because I have that network, so I would just say, for your own sake and sanity, to his point about not taking crap, like make sure that you're always networking and building business connections or a professional network, because it can help you in the long run not take crap, basically.
Right. Yep. And I mean, the other thing that I remind myself too is I think The Rock said it, where if you died tomorrow, your job posting goes up before your obituary.
Yeah. 110%. That is so unbelievably true. Yeah. Don't think of, yeah. I think that is going the way of the dodo, personally, where people, their job is their identity. I know it's still kind of happening quite a bit, but I feel like that mindset has kind of gone away. But to your point, 100%, like, dude, nothing's worse. Like there's a ton of layoffs going on right now. Like, I mean, you've seen it, right? Like it's like all over the place right now. Economy's getting kind of tough. Belts are tightening, and it just sucks to see. I saw one woman the other day, it had a viral Instagram video where she got hired in like September, and she was being laid off in December, and she's like, I'm still in my like 90-day like onboarding. Like, they're like, your performance hasn't been good. She's like, what are you talking about? Like,
how did I perform in 90 days? Like,
yeah. Yeah. So anyways, it's just, word of the wise to everybody. out there. Do you get approached for like career advice or guidance or mentorship?
I
Much?
mean, I try and help anybody I can with any chance that I can. Like I've polished resumes for people. I've made connections to people. Like I say it every time on my podcast when I close out. Like I'm generally not playing. If I can help you or I can find somebody that will connect with me and let me know, because I will bend over backwards. The what's crazy to me is we have this great social media and this whole community thing, and you're one of the few that actually does it. Like you can help people because you have an audience and because you can do that for others. So why not? Like, what's the downside for you? Funny story. So like I had a guy 2 years ago that was finishing his doctorate and he reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you help me with my dissertation?" And it turned into a pretty big deal. No money or nothing was exchanged. I just did it because I wanted to help him get through his dissertation.
Yeah.
Fast forward to last Friday, I'm going to sit in on this big zero trust project. Guess who's the program manager that has his doctorate running the project? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like,
Wow.
talk about investing your time in somebody and then seeing it pay off. Like there we were.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is awesome. And again, like I would just say another thing is like giving your time, giving your guidance, giving your mentorship in whatever facet that looks like. You should never be thinking about like what's in this for me. Like, oh, like like that guy. You're like, oh, hold on, what's your dissertation on? Oh, that's perfect. I'll definitely help you because I'll be able to like exploit you basically in 2 years. If you have that mindset, that's never going to work out for you. But just do good, right? And things do happen.
I mean, the older I get, the more karma is a real thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You put out good, sooner or later it comes back. And if your goal is to retire on a Bezos yacht, probably not going to happen. But
No, but I mean, there is something to be said about quality of life and feeling like your cups are full and righteous and all that. So you mentioned how you end your podcast asking if people need help and stuff. Let's talk about your podcast for a second. So this is Dr. Zero Trust. You guys, I'll drop a link on chat right here. It's on Spotify. But hey, Tyler Ramsby's in chat. I see him. Tell us about your podcast, Chase. What are we listening to here?
so yeah, sometimes it gets pretty profane. So if you're offended by bad words, it's probably not the one you want to listen to. But I mean, I just try and crawl through the muck and the shenanigans in the space, and every week, if I can, that's why it says weekly-ish. If I can, I'll put out that analysis to the market and push that out there. And I don't hold back when it comes to vendors or BS or marketing schlep or whatever. If I showed you guys the absolute stack of cease and desist letters and nasty emails I've gotten from folks, but somebody's got to tell the truth, and that's just kind of my position on it. And I enjoy it. And I've been lucky enough to have a bunch of really smart, good people on it over time.
Yeah. So what's the format? Is it like, this is like a 1 hour guest interview format. What's the format of this guy?
So it kind of flows. Sometimes if I can have somebody on that's a guest, then we'll chat and we'll go. I always keep it to 30 minutes or less. I call it the toilet rule. Like if you can't listen to me while you're sitting on the crapper, it's probably too long. So
That's awesome.
yeah, so I shoot for 30 minutes or less, and then I just go forward from there. And I also take suggestions. So if people are like, hey, you should cover this topic, I'll do those as well. Like somebody asked me recently to do a AI and cyber, that type of deal.
Oh, okay. So are you focusing on a certain technology every single episode? Is that kind of it?
No, I typically focus on what's going on in the market, the news, the stuff that's impacting us in national security. Like it's pretty topical. But I also take the opportunities I see when there is an expert on a particular technology or topic to bring them on and chat. So,
Well, I mean, let's talk about that. You said AI recently. I see your episode that dropped on February 8th was around, is the new AI leader the right choice for you? And also talking about China and critical infrastructure. I assume that's coming hot off the heels of Chris Wray and Jen Easterly's congressional.
yeah, and they NIST also created a new AI office, and they put a person in charge of it. That she's brilliant. She's a Yale Law School grad, but she knows as much about AI as I know about being the Pope. And
Yeah.
it was like, this is how we select people to run something like AI. I mean, what would we have ever had Robert Oppenheimer do this if he didn't at least have a freaking math degree?
No, that is interesting. I did not know about that, but that is interesting. I agree. I will say, if you want to go down the rabbit hole with AI for a second, I have found I find myself conflicted, Chase, because I get that the US federal government is massive and it moves slowly because there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of bureaucracy. And sometimes for good reasons, right? Like, but I feel like the United States' reaction and approach to regulating and addressing AI has been glacial in its approach to the point of like it's ineffective because it's moving the speed at which AI is developing and the speed at which regulations are trying to go, it'll never catch it, let alone do any impact. Do you have any thoughts on that? Is that a false theory I have?
No, I mean it's very, very real theory, and I mean the thing that's funny too is we've been trying to get legislation pushed through that's basically defines stuff like negligence in cyber, which we know the standard for negligence, right? Like if you're somebody that has a web server exposed with 1 million people's information to the internet, it's admin for the password for 3 years, you're like that's negligence, and you should be punished for it. So like and we haven't even been able to get that is my point, like, and those are super clear, super well defined. There's realities behind it. AI is still one of these things where the government's looking at it and they're scared, they're like super hesitant to actually do anything because it is the razor's edge for them of, we know that we could use this and we know that there's lots of ways that it could benefit the US government, but it's also kind of potentially risky and dangerous, and we're not sure what the heck to do. So let's do nothing and kind of see how it works out.
Yeah, well, maybe ask AI what happened, like what it thinks will happen if you do nothing. Like certainly, I mean, personally, this isn't a political show. I keep my thoughts out of the public sphere on that stuff. But doing nothing is definitely not right. The way I've been telling my students at the Citadel is like, it's like you got to ride the lightning. Like AI is here. If you don't get on it, like it's probably going to be a bumpy ride and you're probably going to make some mistakes and get burned, but like get on it and go, because if you don't, it's like 20 years ago when people, like would put like they knew how to use Excel and Word on their resume. Like that's a standard like civil skill now. Like using AI will be a civil skill. Like if you don't know how to use AI, it'll be like you don't know how to drive a car or you don't know how to use the internet, right? Or the information superhighway. You're old enough to remember.
Oh yeah,
when we called that for a minute.
yeah, yep, yeah, and it's funny too because like my oldest son is in college and he was working on a paper or whatever else. I was like, dude, let me show you how to use this, and I showed him how to use Chat GPT and some other stuff, and he's like, isn't this cheating? I said, yeah. I was like, welcome to competitive advantage. So you should be using this stuff, because if you're not, guarantee other people in your class are, and if you want to have good grades, like you better jump on it. And it's not that it took all the load off of you. You just were able to leverage a technology to do stuff quicker, better, faster. So do it. I used Chat GPT probably daily. And I think too, one thing that we're not doing that we should do is we keep marketing everything as AI, and it's not. It's LLMs and machine learning and lots of process and compute. And that's a problem too, because then you get people that don't understand this stuff and don't really know how to leverage it. And they're thinking that it is some self-aware friggin', James Cameron bot that's going to solve all their problems. Like, no, it's still, you got to know the questions to ask and how to leverage it and how to use it. And it can help you, but it's not AI.
Right. No, I'm 100% with you. I feel like AI is everyone's calling it AI because the marketing, it hit, LLM doesn't roll off the tongue.
Yeah.
People don't know what LLM is, but people know what AI is, and the marketing engine grabbed hold of it. And it's like, even our industry, I have been I'll continue to call it cybersecurity because that's what it's called. But like, I've long been on a one-man crusade to change the name to cyber resiliency, because that's what I think we're actually trying to achieve here, not security.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But none of the marketing people want to get on board with me on that. But yeah, 100% with AI. And I personally use AI every single day, more or less, for all sorts of purposes. In fact, I was literally using it 20 minutes before we went live because I cook. I enjoy cooking. I cook often for my family. And, with the ChatGPT mobile app, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but with the ChatGPT mobile app, you can like give it there's like 10 voices you can pick. I have like a nice Australian woman named Janice, I think. and like you hit it, and it's like you're basically in a phone call with her. And I'm like, hey Janice, like it's weeknight. I want to kind of do like an Asian stir fry tonight. Can you give me like a quick 30-minute recipe? And she's like, yeah, sure. That sounds delicious. Like, a lot of personality, and she'll like rip off the recipe. Or another like pro tip is like, I open the fridge and I'm like, and I'm like, hey Janice, I've got like onions, celery, garlic, like give me something I can do with this crap. And she usually pulls something together. And I'm sorry to like dominate this conversation.
No, I think this is, I mean, it's crazy, right? I mean, that's, I was reading an article too about virtual girlfriends and how much of a problem that is for like the young guys in this generation. I was going, oh, okay, here we are.
Yeah, well, so I'm pulling this up right now. In today's news, Chase, actually, there was a story that is really, really interesting. It was the last story in the news brief today, that threat actors have figured this out, and now they're using them to do data harvesting on victims, like basically automating romance scams.
Nice. Yeah, shocker, right? I mean, anything you can make, someone will find a way to use it for nefarious purposes. So
exactly. It's brutal, but I mean, I guess all you can do is like be aware of it so you can actually address it and adjust accordingly. So, but 100% with you on ChatGPT being able to help you move faster. Like I think you're an idiot if you like ask it a question and then copy paste it and send it off like as is.
Yeah.
But adjusting it accordingly. Even that wonderful intro that is absolutely true about you. ChatGPT did the first draft of that.
Perfect.
I thought it was pretty good. I added a little bit of my flavor into it, but yeah, it took me 5 minutes. I
mean, Grammarly is amazing. Grammarly's helped me so much, and it's, I guess you could call that a version of AI, like it is an LLM, and it gets better as you use it. So like Grammarly is awesome in my opinion.
I haven't used Grammarly. Like I guess I got wrapped around the axle when people were like, it's basically a keylogger. Like you're installing a keylogger on your phone. Yeah. I was like, oh, maybe.
I mean, I use it on my on the browser for like papers I write and whatever else, because I'm a product of the Texas education system. It's lucky I'm literate, so I have to use Grammarly.
I love it. So, hey, let's guys, chat. If you have questions, throw them in chat. It is a fireside chat, so we can go anywhere we want with the conversation. But one of the other things I want to talk to you about, so like you make podcasts, you make books, you make LinkedIn content creation and stuff like that. Talking about content creation reality. So a lot of people only see the output, like the product, like, oh, Jerry, he's got videos on YouTube, or like Chase, he's got books. Can you share some of your reflections with like the realities of content creation? Because a lot of people, I mean, it is a great way to help individualize yourself as a practitioner, have a portfolio, or, grow a social media presence. But what are some like realities from your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I actually read a study that was it was pretty academic in nature, but it said that human beings' attention span over the course of the last decade has gone down to less than a goldfish, like statistically speaking. So it's pretty crazy when you think about that. So that's why, like, when you look at my content that I typically post, it's either like 3 words in an article, or like 4 words or 5 words in a link or something like that. Like, I know I'm only going to get maybe 8 seconds of somebody's attention before I have to move on to something else. So like, I think that there's a lot of value in understanding who you're speaking to and how they're going to absorb that content. If they want to read it, they'll go off and do it on their own, but don't think you're going to put a diatribe on LinkedIn and have somebody actually read through everything that you wrote. If they do, is probably you're probably deluding yourself. And I think too, like the big thing, people don't give enough credit to others that are going to look at your content and figure out whether or not you actually believe in what you're saying and what you're putting out there. Folks aren't stupid. They'll find out pretty quickly and they'll delve into it. And we're public enough that you can figure out whether somebody's full of crap or not. And you don't want to be that person that's found out to be full of crap. It's not a good place to be. And I just get so much positive feedback and value from just being myself. Folks will ask me like, oh, why do you do this? And how do you keep up with it? Whatever. It's like, dude, I enjoy it. And I just like having fun. And if I get to poke fun and piss some people off along the way, sign me up.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree with you that like large amounts of content, people aren't going to read that unless you have some like compelling, clever way to do that. Do you ever like run into people like giving you a hard time about your content? Like, like you had mentioned, like cease and desist letters. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about more like individuals.
Yeah, the haterade. Yeah, those are. Yeah, I get a lot of DMs from people that'll come after you, and they say some pretty nasty things and whatever. And I don't know if y'all have seen the like the gifs or gifs, however the hell you say it, where like the
Oh, okay. How
yeah.
do you say it?
I
That's
I
important.
say GIF. I say GIF
Oh
because
my God.
yeah.
Okay. All
I don't
right.
know. Is that wrong? Is that the wrong way to say it?
Well, the community is really divided on this. I'm a huge GIF guy personally. I do agree that saying GIF is fine. Nadine actually, my wife actually showed me something yesterday that said, "Imagine if God came down and looked at you and said it's pronounced Jod."
Jod.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I think that's one of the I'm probably wrong, but I mean it's there's the GIF of or GIF, whatever the hell you want to say, where there's the dogs and there's a gate between them and they're like barking at each other like crazy, crazy, crazy. And then the gate opens up and they just chill out and come to each other. Like deal with people on the internet's basically like that. Most of them are keyboard warriors and they're willing to come at you because they got nothing else to do and they live in their mom's basement. And they can be as hateful as they want, but just don't ever engage with them. I like the what was it? Keanu Reeves said, if somebody says 2 + 2 is 7, I'm like, yep, like sure, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah, yeah. Good on you.
Yeah.
I've always taken the approach of and it frustrates people, but I've always taken the approach of assuming positive intent. So they're like, if you're like, I had someone say like, I love your show, but can you like stop screaming into the mic? You sound like an idiot. And I was like, oh, like, hey, thanks so much for checking out the show. Like, that's the volume I do it at. So if that's not cool, like here's 2 other podcasts that you may find value in, right? There's that. And then another one, Chase, you'll get a kick out of this, is somebody, my morning briefing, it's an hour long, right?
Yeah, I watch it all the time.
Oh, cool. Thanks, Chase.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're part of the community. So somebody said at one point last year, 2 years ago, like, the show would be great if you didn't do so much jaw jacking. I had to like Google what jaw jacking was. Apparently it's like saying a lot of things without actually saying anything meaningful. And I was like, interesting. So what I ended up doing was I created a whole new segment at the end of every episode for 30 minutes called jaw jacking, where
Nice.
like, that's what we're doing. And you know what? People like it. So
Yeah.
I thank the guy for the recommendation.
Yeah, I joke on my podcast a lot that I have a misshapen head because I do. And the funny thing was somebody actually took time out of their day to DM me and go, "Hey, I noticed that your head is misshapen," and I was like, "Thanks, I guess." I don't know what to tell you, but okay, cool.
Yeah, good on you. Good on you. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
No,
I don't live with my mother. Do you?
Yeah. That's funny. Oh man. So, all right. So people are dropping the GIFs and the GIFs. Haircut Fish, a regular in the community, Dan, he does the memes of the week on Thursday. One was definitely interested in you pronouncing GIF and then telling me that I was wrong. So we're not going to come to blows here on this.
Yeah,
but
I don't know. I don't know what's right or wrong. I think I always think of like what I call God Jod. So yeah.
Exactly. Well, the whole reason I say GIF is because the individual who invented that file format,
He calls it a GIF, right?
he called it a GIF. Yeah. So like, I'm like, who am I to say? It's like, if someone started calling me Gary, I'm like, well, my name's actually Jerry. I know it looks like Gary, but it's pronounced Jerry.
Yeah.
Not to, poke holes in your argument or anything like that. But so, all right. Continuing on as we are, Chase, what do you, so obviously you're busy doing like a million things, but like, what do you, I know you said you like to read, like what do you like to do to kind of kick it? Like, how do you decompress?
I've told people repeatedly, like I'm not, how do I say this? I'm good at being on a team, but I am not a team player when it comes to sports. So like I play golf, I lift weights, I do Krav. Like I like stuff where it's me versus either the course or the weight or somebody else. I just am not one of those folks. Like I don't enjoy going to a team basketball game or a team softball or whatever. So like for me, it's either I love golf. I love lifting weights, those types of things. And I mean, I also, to your point, like I make it a point where at a certain time of day, like I'm done. I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, fine, but at the end of the day, like I'm done. Unless you're calling me with the world is burning and I can help you, I'm not even going to answer the phone because that's my time.
Yeah, 100%. Time management is paramount to mental health and compartmentalization. Like, you'd mentioned you have kids. Like, I have a family too, and if I just poured myself into my work exclusively, it would be bad, right? It would be unfair to them. It would rob me of the opportunity to be a father and a husband. So I'm 100% with you there. The phone's always going to be there. The DMs, the texts, the emails are all going to be there when you get to them later. Um, so I mean, as far as you had mentioned golf, right? Like, you're a big golfer. Are you well, the question I have for you, because I'm terrible at golf, like, literally, just so everybody's fully aware, my game of golf, I only do it if, like, I get asked to do it, and, like, typically like a guy's weekend bachelor party type thing, and then I'll play the first 7 holes, and then I'll drive the golf cart and drink Bud Lights, and I'm that guy, but
Yeah, right. Yeah. But you
I
still have
pay.
a good time. That's all that matters.
Exactly, and I'll caddy for you. Like,
Yeah.
you want the 7 iron, I'll get it for you, Chase. Have you found, because a lot of executives, a lot of politicians, a lot of power people play golf, and that's where business deals get struck. Like, in fact, I joke around often that, like, we might not buy the best sim for our company, because the crappy sim we purchased, the CEO happens to be golfing buddies with our CEO, and it was a back nine deal. Have you found playing golf has, like, or what's your experiences with golf getting access to certain opportunities or networking?
Yeah, so I think what's funny is you go to these events like RSA and whatever, and they try and shove you into a room to have dinner with a bunch of people and blah blah blah. And you're lucky if you're there for an hour or whatever, and you typically just want to get the hell out of the place. Whereas like you said, even if you're not a golfer, if I'm going to play golf with you, we're going to be out there for at least 4 hours, maybe five. We're going to have
Mhm.
some beers and hang out and whatever. And I can also see how you react to things going sideways. Like, do you lose your shit and get pissed off? Or are you capable of actually keeping it together and act like an adult? And then that's where relationships are going. I've literally got business relationships that I'm still leveraging now that came from playing golf with guys 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Yeah, I was afraid you were going to say that. I feel like there's opportunities that I'm just, like, I'm running uphill with a rucksack full of stones in it, and if I played golf, I feel like I could at least put the sack down and continue going up the hill.
Yeah.
But have you seen? Have you? I guess maybe as a hack here, have you found any other activities have similar experience value?
Yeah, I think the last one I went to where it was pretty good was those axe throwing events, which are kind of dangerous too. But I mean, there's nothing more fun than seeing people chuck an axe at a piece of wood and throwing beer into it. It's always a great idea.
Yep.
And one event that I went to that was super cool was we did hog hunting from a helicopter. That was awesome.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, we were there for all day long, and I mean, it was 12 hours of guys being together because the bird would take you and you'd go off and shoot hogs, and then it'd come back and land, and the next group would go, and you just kept going until the day was over.
Wow, I was today years old when I found out that helicopter hog hunting was an activity. I'll have to add that to my bingo card, Chase.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I got a bunch of buddies of mine that are ex SEALs, and they actually do a thing they call entertainment.
Mhm.
And basically, they'll take you to a kill house, and they run you through like how SEALs clear houses, and then they give you guns with simunition, and you get to go clear it out. It's a really cool way to network with people as well.
Oh my God. So at Black Hat this year, I was going to rent a Top Golf bay, but now I feel woefully inadequate. I feel like I need to rent would you call it a kill house?
Yeah, kill house, man. Yeah, those are a blast.
So if I Google kill house, is that something that is probably going to get me flagged, or?
Nah, you'd probably be all right. I mean, it's one of those things. But at Texas, I mean, we can do whatever the heck we want in Texas. So
Oh, that is true. That is true. I'll have to VPN into Texas and then Google helicopter hog hunting kill houses
yeah,
and see what's going on.
it's
I like
fun.
it. Yeah, a lot of people in chat loving this, loving blowing up stuff. Simunitions. Is simunitions paintball, basically?
No, it's actually a 9mm shell with a little plastic paint thing on the end of it, and I have scars all over my body from the military. It sucks. It hurts a lot, but it definitely is fun to learn like what would have gone wrong if you'd entered a room the wrong way. So
Well, yeah, I guess that some of the best lessons learned have a little bit of pain associated with them to really dial it in.
yeah, it's I my every time I've like been at the pool or something, somebody's like, "What are all those little dots all over you. I'm like, that's simunition, man.
Yeah, I was shot multiple times.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was funny too was when I was going through training and we were doing all the tactical stuff. They always needed somebody to volunteer to be a tango, a terrorist, and
Uh-huh.
that was the only guy that got unlimited mags. So I was like, yeah, I'm a tango every time. So I got shot to pieces all the time.
Oh my God, that's funny. Interesting move. Like, so you just wanted infinite mags. Like, you're
Yeah,
like, I don't want to be worrying about this.
yeah. I just wanted to be like, cool, no rules. I get to be the bad guy. Sign me up, and yeah, you just run around and get wasted. So,
I love it. It makes me think of like, are you into the John Wick movies?
oh, those are awesome. Those are some of the best movies ever. Yeah,
Oh, they're so good. But it just makes me think of like John Wick. Like, I know he wasn't a tango, but like
yeah,
he seemed to have infinite
yeah.
everything.
Yeah, he never ran out of ammo, and yeah, it's a blast.
That's so funny. People are digging all these activities. Do you have any? I'm just curious now. Do you have any other activities that are like equally Texas?
Spear fishing is one I've done a lot, which is fun. I actually got run out of the water by a tiger shark, so I won't be doing that for a while.
Oh my
If
God.
yeah, if you've never had an animal look at you trying to figure out like, is it worth it to eat you? It changes your perspective.
Yeah. The moment you realize you're not on top of the food chain,
Mhm.
it's very interesting. Have
Yeah.
you ever done? Is it noodling where you like jam
Oh
your?
yeah. So I mean, I'm from like redneck side of Texas, and I know guys that have, but there's no way I'm ever sticking anything of mine in a hole underwater. Like not even happening.
And hoping something bites it that you're
Yeah,
able to
nah,
pull out?
not nope.
Oh my God, that's funny. Going back to your the books and reading and stuff, Space Tacos, great question, common question. What are some of the top books you've read? Like some books you know not just enjoyed but would recommend?
Yeah, so The End of the World is Just the Beginning. It's a great book. I just
Oh,
finished that one. Yeah, it's a really good book. Peter, the guy that published that, does a lot of great stuff. I'm a big fan of the Brad Thor novels. I think those are all pretty good. And then one of the other ones that I read was Flying in the Face of Fear, which is a lady that was an A-10 pilot in the Iraq War. It's a good book.
wow. Okay, so like kind of it's like a not a autobiography, but is it kind of like her experiences from that?
Yeah, and I mean, her whole thing, like you want to talk about resilience, she talks about how the A-10 just got shot to pieces, but still flew back to base and does the mission and stuff like that. And I mean, you're just like, that chick's amazing, you know?
Oh my God. Yeah. So intense. Like when you think about, I mean, again, I haven't served, but when you think about real war and real conflict, it's really serious. This is the book you were talking about, The End of the World. It's just the beginning.
Yeah, and then he's got another book called The Accidental Superpower, which is also awesome.
The accidental superpower right here.
Yep. Mhm.
And this seems very focused on global, not global
It's
politics, but
yeah,
global,
it's geopolitics and
yeah.
history, and the funny thing that most people don't realize is like this guy studies, and he actually says this in the book. He's like, when I say geopolitics, I mean the politics of geography as applied to a nation, and it's like he really knows his stuff.
That is really interesting. Very cool. I'll drop a link to both of these in chat. This one, really interesting to me. So the subtitle, I know you can't see it on, excuse me, on stream here, says mapping the collapse of globalization. And when I think of that, I mean, we're seeing very much a strong decoupling, decoupling, disentanglement of China from as a supply chain, you know, manufacturer in the global economy, especially kind of like NATO and BRICS, beginning to separate like oil and soap. So is that what this book is kind of focused on? Is like
Yeah.
what this evolutionary shift looks like?
Yeah, and he goes back into the history of where demographic collapse has affected countries over time, and it's pretty cool too because he talks about how by like 2040 the U.S. actually, just because of our geography and our resources, will be in a better position than every other nation on the planet. But that's not necessarily good because when they run out of resources and they collapse, guess what? They're going to come after somebody to basically fill that gap.
Yeah, well, I'm not. So here's an interesting. Well, I think it's interesting thing. I'm not a big horror person. Like I don't like horror movies. I don't like scary stuff like that. Yet somehow I was wicked into The Walking Dead and some of these like post-apocalyptic zombie genre things. But it was never really about the zombies. The drama was always between two factions of humans competing for scarce resources. And if you scale that up, that sounds like, I mean, it's human nature, honestly. So it's something that everybody can identify with. And two, when you're scaling it up to nation on nation action, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the realities, the impacts, the stakes are very high.
Yeah, the stakes get real high real fast. It's yes, Christopher Train to Busan's an amazing movie, but yeah, I always tell my kids, because they, we joke around about like what would happen if the world ended and The Walking Dead. I'm like, well, I live by the Negan model. And if you remember Negan from
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Very
like if I can take it, half of your stuff is mine. That's pretty much how I see it.
yeah. Well, that is, you can't, I mean, now you're getting into survival and the reality of resources and stuff like that. And it's serious. Like, and again, like, that's why I think for me as an intellectual, like for me, I love intellectual stimulation. I love being mentally challenged and stuff, and just seeing like those societies kind of develop and like what becomes a priority. Right. And dude, going back to pandemic, do you remember the first couple like months of the pandemic where like toilet paper was like a resource? I literally bought toilet paper in like a parking lot from like out of a guy's back of his car. Like,
yeah, for a respiratory virus. Like, yeah, all right.
Exactly. It made no freaking sense. But this is what we do. Like, we're humans. We want simple and order. And when things get chaotic, we start panicking and making silly decisions. But anyways, did you read Nicole Pelros? This is How They Tell Me the World Ends.
Yeah. Actually, she's awesome. I thought that was a really good book too.
Yeah, I loved that book. That's one of those ones that I can't recommend enough. I recently just started reading Battlefield Cyber, which is really, really interesting. About
Fifth Domain is good too.
Fifth Domain. Okay, I don't know. I haven't read that one.
Sandworm is good as well.
Yeah, and I read Tracers in the Dark, Andy Greenberg's other book around crypto analysis, and some of the big cases like Silk Road, Alpha Bay.
I have a cyber thriller novel actually called Gabriel. You could read that one. So
you wrote it?
Yeah, I wrote it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, let's pull that up, dude. Let's pull it up. Let's talk about Gabriel. If anyone in chat's read it, let us know. You can talk to the author right now, Chase Cunningham.
I doubt they have.
Let me see. Oh, I like the cover, dude. You and your covers, your book covers are sick.
That's all that matters, man. You got to have the the Gabriel stuff. You got to have it where you'll see it and go, "What is that?" Right?
Guy, like, chat. Come on, tell me this isn't a lit book cover. Like, next time I write a book, which will probably never happen, Chase, I'm definitely gonna. I don't know if you're on Fiverr and I can like contract you for book covers. But...
Dude, you don't have to contract me. I'll just help you for free. You're like, yeah. I think it's fun designing those things. So.
Oh, I love it. Like, I just released a course last week, and I was like, oh, I'm so excited about the the thumbnail, because the thumbnail of my first course was like not great, but it's well within the scope of my skill set. So I just want to show it to you, see if you got any thoughts about it. Right. So I basically rebranded all of my stuff, but you see, I've got this like key, and it's like the center, and this is another one. So like all my courses are now going to have keys and blue vibes. It's got this kind of a military font, Chase.
Yeah, I don't know. I like that. It's not too busy. Like, you can understand what's there. Well, yeah, I think you did well.
All right, cool. All right, so compliments coming in hot from Chase Cunningham. I like it. I'll mark tape on that one. Hey, let's take some questions from chat. Nick Barker, who is the emotional identity of the Simply Cyber community, wants to know if you could start your career over, which direction would you go? You ever give thought to this kind of fun philosophical question?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm actually working on it right now, but I've always wanted to be a helicopter pilot. So if I could go back and do it, that's what I would do, is fly choppers, because it's fun. Flying a plane, like, is kind of like putting a car on cruise control, but flying a helicopter is like balancing on a beach ball, juggling chainsaws. It's just a blast.
Oh my God. Okay. So it does sound interesting. Juggling chainsaws on a beach ball. That sounds, I guess, that sounds like maybe if you're like putting in like a dating profile on like eHarmony, you're like, describe a fun night. You're like hog hunting in a helicopter and juggling chainsaws.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's super cool. And I mean, I flew in some birds when I was in the Navy or whatever. And I'm now that I'm learning how to do it on my own, it's even more fun. So it's my I guess career goal, if I could go back, would be to fly a helicopter, like do that for the military and then civilian side.
Oh, I love it. So, I mean, are you doing it just for you, or are you thinking long term of getting like one of those like kit helicopters or something, or building it?
Building. Yeah, no, I told my wife, I was like, I need a new challenge, and she's like, well, I don't know what else to throw at you, and I was like, flying helicopters, and then she goes, sure. So that's kind of how it lined up.
Oh, all right, all right. Yeah, I mean, it definitely is a different skill than flying a plane, right? It's not. I mean, obviously, it's two different machines, but like none of the real concepts in flying a plane translate over, right?
Yeah, it's I mean, you still have lift and those things, whatever, but like the way that helicopters do things is very different, and the level of control you can have is actually pretty different too. So it's a blast. I'm just getting started, so like I don't know more than enough to get myself killed, to be perfectly honest, but it's fun. And I also have learned that I'm too large and way too much for the R-22, so I have to be in what they call the fat kid helicopter, which costs more money to fly.
Oh my God, that's funny. That sucks to have that conversation with the guy at the helicopter school. He's like, mm-mm, mm-mm.
Yeah. He's like, you're too much, you weigh too much. And I'm 6'4", almost 6'5". He's like, yeah, you're not gonna enjoy this.
As they're like greasing you up to like push you into the little helicopter.
Yeah, like you may get in, but you'll never get out. So
That's awesome. So, hey, Chase, if people like, obviously, I love talking to you. I know chat is enjoying the crap out of this conversation. You mentioned wanting to help people and stuff. If people wanted to connect with you, what would be the best way for them to do that?
yeah, either look me up on LinkedIn, which is an easy way to get a hold of me. That's me right there. Or hit me up. My email actually is, I'll just give it out. It's chase at drdr0trust.com. And like I said, if I can help you with something, I will. If I can't, I'll probably connect you with somebody that, can, because what's the point in being on this planet if we can't help each other?
100%. So I dropped Chase's LinkedIn creds or LinkedIn URL in chat. His podcast, Dr. Zero Trust, where he's getting real and giving his own thoughts. Definitely not suitable for work, but get into that. Also, Chase, I don't know if you take recommendations or requests, but there's another friend of mine, friend of the community, named Charles Finfrock, and he's a retired CIA officer. He's very loose and he would be, I think he might be a very interesting conversation. He owns a surveillance company now. He was a director of insider threat at Tesla for a bit. So he's an interesting person. I don't know if you're interested, but I know for a fact, because I saw it earlier and I thought it was a great idea. This particular community would be absolutely into a conversation like that. And I'll just share a quick little funny story. So he gave a OSINT workshop. We did a conference back in November, Simply CyberCon, and he did an OSINT workshop, and he was trying to show you like basically how he was working a real case where someone was like, hey, my dad's fallen in love with a scammer. I need you to find out who this person is on the other end. And he brought up like the actual scammers, not the real scammer, but the scammer's persona that they were using. And it was all NSFW type graphics, and he was cackling and loving it and all this. So anyways, it was I blushed.
I'll have to reach out to him, or maybe you can help me connect up with him, because that'd be a blast.
I love it. Yeah, I would love it. I'll connect you guys.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Hey, we've been talking with Dr. Chase Cunningham about zero trust and a million other things, hog hunting out of helicopters and such. I've had a great time. Chase, thank you so very much for spending some time with us today and sharing your experiences and your stories.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. You guys are great. I love all the work that you do. I'm a big fan of everything that you put out there. So I can't thank you enough for having me on here.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure. And say hello in the morning stream, the daily briefings. Now that I know you're there, it'd be great to see you.
Yeah, I jump on every chance that I get. I need to be a better listener, but I'll try and get there a little more often. Usually I got people overseas or lately that have been sucking up my time. So,
all right. Well, when you're there, we'll say hi. Awesome. All right, everybody. This has been the interview, Simply Cyber Live with Dr. Chase Cunningham. Thanks so much. And Slay Security Plus tonight at 7:30 and tomorrow 8 a.m. for the Daily Cyber Threat Brief. Thanks so much, everybody. Until next time, stay secure. Buddy, I hope you enjoyed that content. Keep the cybersecurity train going by connecting with the other Simply Cyber community resources. We have the Discord server that's lively and always keeps the conversation going. You can connect with me directly on LinkedIn. And also every single weekday morning on the Simply Cyber channel, we're doing live daily cyber threat briefings, 8 a.m. Eastern time, as well as Thursday at 4:30 p.m. We're doing live stream interviews with industry experts, and we produce videos that we push out every Wednesday morning. I'm Jerry from Simply